Hey y'all, welcome to No Invite Necessary podcast, and I'm your host, Nolita, aka the Mona Lita. This is where I share the real stories of the grinders, the hustlers, the doers, and the dreamers who have faced some of life's toughest challenges, and they've come out on top, not only better, but stronger and wiser and way more fulfilled. I'm talking about practical resilience, growth, and transformation. This show is for anyone who's ever felt sidelined or underestimated. Whether you're finding inner peace, rebuilding after a crisis, or making waves in your community, here is where I spill the tea with my guests on their hustle and the lessons learned along the way. Remember, it's your journey, your hustle, your rules. Let's get into it.
No invite necessary. No invite necessary podcast on the road.
And just like that, we are back with episode 2 of No Invite Necessary. Yes, let's get into it. So I gave you a little teaser at the end of episode 1 where I gave you guys some background on how I had some setbacks, living in Houston, breakups, just toxic mindset, rediscovering God. But in that process, I also teased that I was handing out what? Pink slips. Pink slips, yes, pink slips. Pink slips have become necessary right now in the season that I'm in life. And pink slips, but also offer letters for myself. So pink slips, recognizing the distractions. Life and being successful can become so addictive to keeping yourself busy and doing things that on the surface seem very good. They seem as if they are contributing to something, but you have to remain present with self and also present with what God is downloading into you for your purpose, right? And your passions that you're feeding into that. And I had gotten into a cycle of literally just pouring and depleting myself creatively because I was pouring into everyone else's dream, everyone else's vision, everyone else's project, and wondering why I'm feeling spent, wondering why I feel as if I don't have anything left for me. So I had this idea that came to me by Holy Spirit. I was sitting on my couch and he told me, write a pink slip. It's time to write the pink slip. It's time to hand out. There's an ending of you overextending yourself for everyone else and for everyone else's brand, business, organization, all of that. So that's what I did. I'm going to read a little bit. So, pink slip of distraction and delay addressed to my dear friends, my loved ones. The date, effective immediately. The subject, a new chapter. Yeah. So, hello, this message comes from a place of love and deep consideration. I want to share that I am embarking on a new journey that requires me to focus wholeheartedly on my personal goals and dreams. As such, I need to make some changes as to how I spend my time and my energy. So in this letter, I go into just breaking down like why this decision is touching on my personal growth, my mental well-being, focusing on my own dreams. But of course, you have to give context as to how these changes are going to influence your relationship with other people, right? So I go on to say how this affects our relationship, quality over quantity. I value our relationship deeply, and while I may be less available, the time we do spend together will be more meaningful and intentional. It doesn't mean that in me having this, theoretical pink slip that I'm cutting people off. No, I'm just learning to prioritize that I can't work on everything for everybody and then sit around and wonder why I haven't developed anything for myself. That's just not fair to me. It's giving boundaries, healthy boundaries. And oftentimes, when people aren't accustomed to you having boundaries, there's friction in them understanding that who you knew me to be, always pouring, always available, that's not who I am today. And I have the right to change. I have the right to improve upon myself and to do better for myself. So go on to just talk about more about the support system. I hope to continue supporting each other, but I ask for your understanding and encouragement as I navigate this path. Your support means the world to me. Staying connected. This isn't goodbye. It's a shift in focus. Like I just said, I'll still be here for important moments and we'll cherish the times we connect. And then there's a conclusion. But, I had to do that. This had to happen.
So was there a last straw moment? Like, if you could give us.
I would say my last straw moment that really led to me having to physically, because I'm a visual person, so I have to see certain things. Yes, I had to create the pink slip. My last moment was me having this to come to fruition, right? And I know that I have the lighting, I have the sound, I have the tech, I have the support, but in me attempting to try to do something on my own, just not having the mental space and the real estate free for me to do something for myself, to learn my own intro, to know what my elevator pitch is for my passion project, for my business. I can rattle off everybody else's story. I can rattle off everybody else's purpose for whatever series, but I wasn't able to do that for myself. And if I had not gotten to a place where I'm saying, no, I'm not available for that meeting because I'm focused on this, I would continue to delay not only the execution, but also I would really just lessen the excellence that I can put towards this.
So you arrived at a moment where you couldn't see your vision.
I couldn't.
That was the straw that
It's too cloudy. And I want to say I was listening to a sermon. It's a pastor out of Houston. I'm not familiar with his name off the top of my head, but he mentioned that you can be distracted with good things. And yes, you may be helping others. Yes, you may be pouring into others, but it's almost like a mirage almost, right? Because that good thing, it's convincing you that that's the direction you need to walk into, because of course it's contributing to somebody else. But for you in your present time and in your future, is that good thing contributing to why you're here?
If this podcast is addressing hustlers and dreamers, I mean, the hustle is attractive. That's how you got into it in the first place. So
I guess for me, it's just always been I've always had a lifelong battle with people pleasing. Where that comes to be a conflict is that with being a hustler, a dreamer, and a doer, because I would prioritize the needs of others, I'm hustling towards their dream, towards their X, Y, and Z, and I'm not doing that for myself. So it's similar to like what I mentioned in one of my Instagram posts, where I was talking about my level of mastery of storytelling. I've mastered the story. I mastered being able to tell the stories of everyone else, to build everyone else's brand, to know what their end goal is and how I can contribute to that. But I have not invested the same amount of time or focus for myself. So it's like I had to literally write a pink slip to say, I can't help y'all. I ain't got nothing left. You done sucked me dry. You done sucked me dry. I don't have nothing left. And I'm trying to revive my energy and my creativity and just the well that I need to pull from for my own projects.
So it's giving, like we said, healthy boundaries.
Yeah, healthy boundaries.
And balance. So
Definitely.
Are there, can you summarize that turning point into tips or maybe steps to help the other hustlers and doers
So
to reshift their balance when they're out?
I'm so happy that you asked me that, because in me writing said pink slip, I also had to write an offer letter. Yes. I had to write an offer letter, and that offer letter was addressed to myself, and I was being hired for the position of chief architect of my dreams. So we got to get into the habit of, if you know that you have to start fresh and you have to put a marker in the ground and say, this is where I'm starting from today. If I'm firing myself from working on everybody else's project, if I'm firing them from expecting that from me, that leaves space for there to be some hiring done. And if I've never hired myself to literally work for myself and to be dedicated to myself, I think I'm owed an offer letter. I think I am owed an offer letter. So yes, I hired myself as the chief architect of my dreams. And I'll again just read a little bit from that. I wrote, "Dear self, I am thrilled to officially extend this offer to myself for the most important role I have ever taken on, dedicating my talents, my creativity, and my energy to my own dreams and goals. This role is not just a position, it's a commitment to self, to waking up each day with a purpose and pouring my heart into my podcast, acting, and writing, because I do all three, with the same intensity and dedication I've given to others." Yes. So just in that, that comes with responsibilities like any other job function, right? So prioritizing my dreams, waking up each morning with a determination to work for myself, knowing that my dreams deserve the same, if not more, dedication and hard work that I have invested in others. Embrace my creativity. Pour my creativity into my podcast, acting, and writing. Let my unique voice and perspective shine through every project I undertake. Self-belief. Cultivate unwavering belief in my capabilities. I have already achieved so much. Now it's time to channel that same drive and passion into my own endeavors. Consistent growth. Commit to continuous learning and growth. Every challenge I face is an opportunity to become better and stronger. Celebrating my wins. Acknowledge every milestone, no matter how small. Celebrate my progress and the journey itself. The celebrating my wins was big for me because with my professional experience and being in certain spaces where the production is so big, it's so grand, and you have all of these moving parts, that it can feed that part of me that's a perfectionist, that feels that I have to have every single thing right and every duck in a row to move forward, to be able to do it with excellence. But there's excellence that can be achieved at every level. So I'm just starting this podcast. So yes, I don't have the mic flag the way that I wanted to for this microphone. But baby, are we recording? Yes, we're recording, because we're not going to hold this up because of that. Do I have the theme song the way that I wanted to open this up so that I can react to y'all hearing the theme song? No, but it's going to be in the edit though. Y'all going to have it there. So it's just about celebrating the wins. The wins that I'm celebrating is that I was open and vulnerable enough to ask for help. That's why I have my cousin here. I was open to knowing that I needed to learn. So taking the time to slow down, and I could have put this podcast out probably a month ago, but it would not have been as organic as it needed to be, because I could have just, sat down and just talked to y'all and just read some bullet points, and it would have come across very robotic and not myself. But I took the time to do my research, to get things, to test things, and to just give myself the space to be creatively inspired. So I made commitments to myself. I had to apologize to myself, take a moment to apologize for any self-doubt I've harbored. Recognize that doubting my capabilities has only held me back from reaching my full potential. Renewing my confidence, reaffirming my belief in myself. I am capable, I am talented, and deserving of every success I envision and that God downloads into me. Allocate time each day to work on my projects. My dreams are worth my time and my effort. So the same way that I get up and I think about, okay, how am I loving on myself? That can just be very surface level or very hyper focused on an area such as, if I want to love on myself each day, I need to get up and go to the gym. But that's just the external. I know that internally I need to be stimulated. So that means that I need to get up and think about, okay, what am I doing to increase my knowledge and my expert level of understanding with the podcast? What am I studying? What am I researching? What am I teaching myself about editing? What am I teaching myself about audio? These are all things that are going into the process of refining myself. Surrounding myself with positivity, and then my vision. I envision myself succeeding in every area I set my mind to. I see my podcast gaining followers, my acting receiving accolades, and my writing touching hearts. This is my journey and it's filled with endless possibilities. I have poured so much into the dreams of others, and now it's time to pour that same passion into my own. This is my official offer letter to prioritize myself, to believe in my dreams, and to wake up each day with a renewed sense of purpose. My potential is limitless and my future is bright. Welcome to the most exciting chapter of my life. I am confident that I will excel and achieve greatness in every endeavor I pursue with an unwavering belief in myself. Nolita Rochelle Poor. So this is printed out.
It's giving write the vision, make it plain.
Come on. And if you can pronounce that Habakkuk, if you can pronounce that correctly. But y'all know 2 and 2. Yes, 2 and 2 through 4. I still struggle with pronouncing that. But the Lord knows my heart. Habakkuk?
No, you're not finna
Habakkuk? Habakkuk.
That's what it is.
Habakkuk.
'Cause I'm not gonna mispronounce it.
Habakkuk 2 through 4. So, yes.
So, do you think that's a requirement of the hustlers? They need to write it down. Is there importance in it? I mean,
There
you're
is.
visual, but somebody who isn't naturally visual, maybe. But would you still advise them to write it down, make it plain?
I advise anybody that's listening to this podcast to do those 2 things, which is to write a pink slip. Write the pink slip to whatever is the distraction in your life, to whatever is deterring you from moving forward, because you need to take the time to really sit down and think about what is it that is holding you back. And sometimes that is going to be internal influences, but also it's external influences as well. So reading that out loud to yourself, writing it first, then reading it out loud to yourself is important. Writing an offer letter to yourself, because when is the last time that any of us really sat down and thought about, did you officially hire yourself to focus on you? To focus on your dreams and your goals, or did you just stumble into it? So if you didn't spend your whole day on everybody else, and then all you have left is a little bit of time to recharge just so you can get back to everybody else, you've never given yourself the space to be hired to pour into you. And my pastor had asked me that last year, either last year or the top of this year, one of the two. But Prophet Ward, he asked me, he was like, Nolita, what is the struggle with you being able to wake up and work just as hard for yourself as you have for everybody else? Like, what is that? It's the people pleasing. And I think it's just always been me having to almost subconsciously prove my loyalty through service. And that kind of trickles down to the service equates, I have provided you with a tangible act that makes you believe in who I am and value me, versus if we are just experiencing one another and it is a 2-way street, why isn't that value established without me having to do something for you to find value in me?
But on the flip side, can you accept it if somebody's giving you the energy that you give other people?
What you mean?
Like accepting the help and the support. Like if you had a leader,
Yeah.
you can accept it?
Yes, I can accept it, but I feel that what I've done and what I'm now working to undo is I position myself where there aren't many people who offer me help, because it's so very me going above and beyond to give. And there are many people who just, well, she's always there. She's always going to offer the idea. She's always going to take the creative lead. It's made me realize that I need to analyze the relationships that I have, because our relationships seemingly not balanced. And no relationship is going to be balanced where everybody is giving, 50-50. But why do I have so many relationships that I don't feel some equivalency of support when it comes to what I'm doing? Because some people, they supporting you as long as what you're doing is in support of them.
But is that a healthy relationship?
No. And that's why I got burnt the hell out. Because there's plenty of people who work on a farm, but do they get to eat what they pick? No.
That's a word.
So they picking the fruit to feed somebody else.
But did you ever have help that wasn't your standard of help? Like, have you ever had someone offer, but in your mind, it's like, you can't really help me where I need to help, or you're not in a space to give me the help I need?
I've had people to ask if they can work with me and or do this, that, and the third for me. But from my observation of how they handle just the ability to focus or serve someone else, and it may be just a little bit of me comparing, but it's not meeting the level of influence that it would need to for them to be impactful, because I am so accustomed to doing so much on my own that if you can't solve a problem without calling me and having a crisis moment, like you getting too lost in the crisis and not the resolution. Because when I'm serving somebody else, I'm not going to call them and have a complete meltdown like I can't figure it out. If I'm reaching out to them, that means that I'm reaching out because, yes, I had an issue, but here's the resolution. I've solved the problem instead of wasting their time with just highlighting the problem. So what the hell are we going to do with the problem? So that's another reason why if I observe that someone is not a problem solver, then how are you doing something for me that I can't do for myself already? Sometimes people offer false help to say that they did it, to say they made the offer, but they and you both know, they both know that it's not going to accomplish the goal.
Give us some insight on the habits, how you implemented this offer letter.
So
You put before yourself the responsibilities that you gave yourself. Like, what does that look like in both the natural and the spiritual?
So the spiritual habit that I've had to implement is that remembering that God created me with talents and gifts that deserve my focus on them, and not thinking that they're just going to develop just because faith without work is dead. And development of myself requires intentional focus and not just by happen chance, if that makes sense. So having time reserved just for me to take vocal lessons, if I know that a goal for me is to not necessarily perform, but to overcome a fear of singing, because I don't know what opportunities wait for me on the other side of overcoming that fear to glorify God. As someone who I didn't grow up singing in church, I wasn't forced to sing in church. I've never been forced to sing publicly because that's what was told. So there's been this fear that's just been able to develop, but there may be a real calling for me to make impact just from the process of overcoming the fear for other people if I can just work through it. But I can't do that if I'm everywhere else working for everywhere else and for everybody.
Okay, so the practical steps are scheduling stuff, time.
Scheduling, getting up and praying, saying no when I really want to say yes is a part of that. Because again, I have to break the habit of always agreeing like, yes, I'm available for this meeting. Yes, I can be here. Yes, I can be there. But then I don't have any time left to hear from him. I don't have any time for what he does download into me for me to sit down and accomplish or finish a book. Like I finished 2 children's books that I'm in the process of having. There's an illustrator. There's like a whole thing going on right now. There's a whole thing. Okay, so let's touch on the book, right? So we're touching on the book. The book is a children's, let's say it's kind of like an autobiography style story about me and my great grandmother's relationship. And I originally wrote this book in 2019. These books is 2 books. I wrote these books in 2019, but it was still too soon after she had passed. So being able to like finish it and get it to a manuscript with beta readers and to move it forward, it was still too much. And again, remember, I had the suppressing my emotions with the smoking and just being numb. In 2021, I was talking to my friend Alex, East Chicago Alex, not Atlanta Alex. It's two different ones. I got 3 Alexes in my life, but I digress. So I was talking to her, and somehow we got on the topic of, I was like, yeah, I wrote this children's book. And she was like, you just sit around with a book, and what are you doing with it? But I had a very particular concept visually that I want it to come, how I want it to come to life. So I had a person in leadership who, under great distress, was stressed, said something to me in a very nasty tone. They said, figure it out. And I said, you heifer, why are you talking to me like that? Who pissed in your Cheerios? But hey, the Holy Spirit then said, let's elevate. Let's elevate. Let's elevate. What am I trying to tell you, my child? The Holy Spirit told me that I needed to figure out how to retain the inspiration, how to find the inspiration, how to execute, how to complete something for myself. And in the context of the book, that person saying that to me, while it was me, it inspired me. It truly inspired me in the sense of I was able to sit down that night and knock out the final edit of the manuscript and get it in front of an editor, a professional editor, to go through the book, clean it up, get it to a point where I can now hand it over to the illustrator who is doing the artwork for it. So sometimes other people don't realize that they're helping you to write your own offer letter, to be your own chief architect of your dreams, because of how they show up. And what I appreciate about that instance was it just continued to highlight that a lot of people have shown me what not to do. And you have to be appreciative in that, because when people make mistakes and when people mishandle you, it still helps you to refine as to how you will show up when it's your turn to be in power, when it's your turn to have influence or just, presence in someone else's life, and how you can have a negative or positive effect. And it just helping me to refine me being able to be positive for myself and also others too.
Tell us when to expect these books, or are we still working?
That's in the process. So what I'm learning about focusing on my dreams also is now I can see and or understand the frustrations that I've observed many entrepreneurs to have to kind of just ride the ebbs and flows of getting something off the ground. Because, I sat down, I'm like, okay, got the manuscript, blah, 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 blah. It's with the illustrator. He's going to be hitting these markers consistently. No, he has not. I love you. I do, sir. I do. I love the work that you do. But we've had some derailing. And I've learned to just roll with having to be patient, and that things are not going to be able to be rushed. But also, the process has helped me to highlight the learned behaviors that I've picked up from certain environments, and just the anxiety-driven progress that is to be made. And yes, that can produce things, but is it producing it in a way that is going to give you the end result that you really intended to have anyway? Is it really? So it's like, I know that I've learned that here or there, but in me embarking on this journey to focus on my own dreams, what are the habits and the learnings that I need to take with me moving forward, and what do I need to leave behind?
What brought you to that awareness?
Hell, in me trying to rush this podcast, it was like, what am I rushing for? Like, what am I rushing for with the books? What am I rushing towards? Because for me to do it right and to not have to finesse it or finagle my way through explaining why something is or isn't whatever the final product will be, I can take my time and get it done. I can take my time to go through the review process. I can take my time to work through the just the natural frustrations of learning to work with someone new. Me and this illustrator have never worked together before. So it's a development of a relationship. And like anything else, you got to get to know that person. You got to get to know what their strengths and weaknesses are. So now I know what some of his strengths are. I know what some of his weaknesses are. And now I can then counter that with proper inspiration, proper guidance, and just, to set my expectations high, but also still set them in a realistic high level.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Are there any other wins experience other than the book?
So we have the win of the book. We have the win of me being on set yesterday and, having a principal role as an actress in a major production, which I'm very excited. And it just really leans into, if I had not committed to this, where would my mindset have been? What would have I been distracted with to not even literally be available for the call or the text message to say, hey, you want this role? We got this. Hey, you need to do an audition tape by tomorrow at this time. And if I would have been distracted with everyone else and everything else, I probably wouldn't have been able to deliver my lines the way that I needed to. I probably wouldn't have been able to get the opportunity to arise to the occasion of, I auditioned for this one role and I got that role. But then the next day I was told, no, we actually want you to do this role with more lines. And you only have a few days to learn all of these lines. And it's the most lines that I've ever had to remember in such a short amount of time. But I was able to do it because I have the creative space and just the mental clarity to have executed it. So
Congratulations.
thank you.
More nuggets.
Yes. One of the nuggets.
Is there any other wins that you've had in this season?
Winning in areas of love and all of those great things. But, I keep that private. So just know your girl is happy. So
Any public wins?
I's happy now.
We got the book, we got love, we got the sets, developing as an actress. Did you?
This podcast is a win.
Oh, amen.
The fact that we're in episode 2
Duh.
of No Invite Necessary is a win, because I've been wanting to do a podcast. I've been wanting to produce. Let me use professional terminology. I've been wanting to produce a podcast of myself for some time. But again, the blockage that I had creatively, I was not in a space to formulate the words that I needed to say, because I was so creatively spent. My words would be all over the place and my inspiration would be very sporadic. So it would not have been consistent. And also just knowing what I wanted to say and to who more so. Because for a long time, I had done some social media series, like Tea Time with the Mona Lita, and that had a nice stint, but also what was the inspiration behind it? And was it something that I couldn't sustain, and just taking the time to not have an idea today and then try to execute it tomorrow? This podcast has been in real time, planned for and worked on over the last 60 days. And that's from not just sitting down and turning on the camera and putting up some pretty lights, but writing the run of shows, figuring out what my storyline is going to be. How many guests do I want to have? Do I even want to have guests? Because this is my opportunity to really establish a relationship with you, the viewer, the listener, and not be relying on who I have on my podcast and what name or what title, what status they have. So that has been a part of the process. Understanding how I need to edit audio, like all of this has been invested. And when I say I have been investing blood, sweat, and tears behind the scenes just to be able to sit down and get to episode 2, big sacrifices.
Was it Homegirl Mantras?
Homegirl Mantras.
You know. Shout out to y'all who's been here since.
If you were around for Homegirl Mantras, that means you've been kicking it with me for a little minute, okay? Because I've been on social media for 12 years. And for a long time, I was so frustrated my social media channel's not growing because I've been on Instagram since the inception, since it was created. But, and YouTube, and just me not, again, having the space, just me not having the creative space to focus and figure out what I want to say and not trying to follow a trend. At one point, everybody wanted to be a natural hair girly. Tried that. I did makeup, I did hair. When I got into health and fitness at one point, I was super focused on that, created Fit Like Lita. But these were all things that were appendages of me, but not at the core of who I am and what I have to say from my soul.
How is no invite necessary different?
No invite necessary is different from all of those smaller extensions of myself, because at the core of who I am, I want to inspire the person who got it right on paper, but what the output is, it's not feeding you the way that they said that it would feed you. Like, the degrees didn't feed my soul the way that using my creativity and my own wisdom that God gives me to help someone else, it didn't feed me the same way. And having the space to share these types of stories with listeners, with viewers, and to have guests on at some point, let's get down to, how do you figure out how to pursue your dreams? Or, as someone was mentioning to me, we don't pursue dreams because that means that you're constantly chasing them. How are you aligning with what your goal is? Because that means that that's just you moving into position, because the goal is there. You just got to continue to move into position. But it's like, how do you align with your goals, with the end result that you're looking to produce, if you don't have anyone who is providing practical, real life experience that is relatable? Because everybody is not going to be a social media star. Everybody is not going to, hit that lick and just have the money to start the business overnight. What are the stories of the people who are the small business owner for 20 years? What are the stories of the people who did go get the degrees? And yeah, you in the corporate job, but are you happy? Like, those are the things that I've been wanting to highlight and to really pour into people.
So, in episode 1, you gave us 3 distinct goals that you wanted to reach in the industry that you created for yourself. Now that you shift in a healthy way of boundaries and pink slips and offer letters, responsibility to yourself.
Yes.
Do you have different goals, like specific goals? Like, are there 3 new goals? Have those, because you accomplished those as well.
Yeah.
Are there new ones? Are you specific in those plateaus or pinpoints that you want to hit, or are you more open to just flowing and seeing where God's going to lead you?
I'm open to where God is leading me as far as my new goals. But what He has given me is that last year I said that I wanted to be in 3 to 5 productions as far as an actress. And to date, as of yesterday, I've hit the minimum, which was 3. So I filmed a movie last year in October. I filmed a short film at the top of May, and I just filmed for another movie yesterday. So, and as like a working actress that will be on TV screens, that will be a season regular, that will be in movies, that is more movies, because I'm in movies, that will be in more movies, that is the goal. But I don't want to put a cap on it. Yesterday while I was filming, the director, he was, giving me some direction leading into the scene we're getting ready to start. He was like, give me your best. And he was like, I don't want to say Viola. I don't want to say Angela. I was like, say Nolita Poor. Give my best Nolita Poor. I don't want to be like any other actress, because no one else is going to be able to deliver performances the way that I can, because only I've experienced the pain or the joy that I will pull from to bring those characters to life. So I am just making myself available to God's glory to use me in these spaces to help redefine how women of faith show up in Hollywood, how they show up in the creative space, and that you don't have to be nice nasty when you get a little bit of money. You don't have to be, mean girl. You don't have to be the mean girl because you get a little bit of status. You can be a relatable, down-to-earth person who you've elevated yourself over time, of course, but you're still kind at heart. Not nice, because nice means that you're agreeable at all times, but kind and fair. So I'm going to encourage you guys to just take inventory right now. Even if you can't get to the point of writing the pink slip, and I literally do not walk outside and hand people these pink slips, y'all. This is for you. Disclaimer. This is for you, because you can write whatever, however you want this to come to. This is for you. But just take inventory on comparing what your goals are, what you're doing, and finding the commonality as to how there may be some conflicts. There may be something that is a distraction. And again, yes, you're working for people or with people or pouring into people, and it may be for a very great cause. But is that cause yours? Is it yours to own? After you take inventory, right, of what is creating a disconnect, a distraction, X, Y, and Z, in you being able to focus on self, to focus on the things that God has downloaded into you as far as your purpose, your passion, and that can leave you in a place where you're like, okay, now that I know that, what do I do next? How do I put that into action? So now you get into the phase of strategizing. And I really feel like this is where the letter, writing the pink slip happens, writing the offer letter to yourself takes place, because now you need to formulate thoughts of what that plan looks like. So for me, with my pink slip, in my planning, I had to walk myself through why this decision. And that's how I tapped into, there were reasons for personal growth, my mental well-being, and focusing on my dreams. So that's the first part of my plan after taking my inventory. And then next, it was, of course, this is going to impact not only myself, but also the relationships of the people, that were benefiting and being poured into from me. Now I have to think about, how am I going to plan on how this affects our relationship? So that's thinking about the quality over quantity, the support system. How are we going to stay connected? Because you want to inform people. Of course, you're going to see these shifts in me, but it's not a notification without some intent on how I'm going to continue to nurture the relationship. It's just going to be a different type of nurture. Everybody can't stay on the same diet their whole life. You got to switch it up.
What about the ones that you had to let go completely?
Oh, well, baby, then you just going to stop at the why of this decision. So inventory, you got to take inventory of what is a distraction, what is, creating discord in your life, and how is it blocking you from being able to just know what you need to focus on yourself and to bring your passions to the surface. Next, you got to strategize, and you have to put that strategy down on paper. My strategy was in the form of a pink slip and an offer letter to myself. All right. So I fired some people and fired myself from them as well. And then I wrote myself an offer letter because I had to hire me to develop my dreams. Next, you got to execute. You can't be doing all this writing and don't do nothing with it.
So how do we execute?
You have to create a daily plan. I think the main thing for me was, I've tried before to make an overnight life change, and that can be intimidating and very hard to keep up with. Literally waking up every day and being very clear on just making the effort. Before we even filmed today, I sent Dom all my outlines that I already had written. Literally. So just imagine if I was saying, oh, I want to do a podcast. Then we got here and I don't know what the hell I'm about to talk about. She would be like, what the hell are we doing?
I mean, we could flow.
Oh, you're rambling?
Like you said, yeah.
And then we probably would have only got through one episode.
Where's the value?
Exactly. Where's the value from Productions Ears, from the mouth of babes? From the mouth of babes. Where's the value? Where is it? Where is it? So take inventory, strategize, and execute. Yes. Okay, so we talked about clearing out the noise, refocusing, and prioritizing our goals and dreams, right? Now, I want to hear from you. Where in your life do you need to issue pink slips? Is it certain habits, relationships, or even mindsets that are holding you back? And what dreams are you ready to hire yourself for? What's that one goal or passion you're ready to fully commit to? Share your stories in the comments below or tag me in your post. So, my hustlers, my dreamers, my doers, let's create a community of support and inspiration where we encourage each other to take those brave steps towards our dreams. And speaking of bold moves, trust me, you do not want to miss the next episode when business and pleasure collide, protecting your heart and your wallet. We'll dive into the challenges of mixing business with personal relationships and how to maintain professional boundaries. Catch the full episode on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and follow for more inspiring content. No invite necessary. Your journey, your hustle, your rules.
No invite necessary podcast. On the road to success, it's a grind every day. Hustlers and dreamers paving their own